technically is a non-conference matchup between Duke and North Carolina. The real deal that will count toward conference play happening on Halloween, last day of the regular season. But don't expect this one to be any less intense as a result of that. We welcome you to Love the Game from Durham, North Carolina. Duke in their dark blue, putting the ball in the box early, trying to come out on the front foot. That was a key for Robbie Church. Looks like they're getting that done early on, Lori.
Yeah, and also a strong start just to be able to put North Carolina under pressure. We talked about the record of 0, 17, and 3 against North Carolina. Good long ball to set up this corner kick early on.
First corner kick of the match for the Blue Devils.
Away! Up! Away!
You can hear the Carolina goalkeeper, Claire Gagne, talking to her defense. Gagne, a transfer from Brown, joining the Tar Heels this year. As you said, when we were looking at the lineups, a lot of new faces on this North Carolina team, and a new face sort of on the sideline with Damon Nahas taking over on an interim basis for Anson Dorrance this year. Anson announcing his retirement just at the start of the season after an incredible 47-year run coaching the men and mostly the women at North Carolina.
Well, I think the biggest switch is not Damon Nahas, because he has been here for 9 seasons, but just more about the team getting used to one another. A lot of new faces, names on this squad, so them gelling early on is going to be key. And so far, so good. I mean, he even mentioned that when we spoke with him earlier today, just that it's far better than maybe what he even expected, was just with so many new players, just trying to get them sorted early on to understand exactly how they want to play, get off on the front foot in these games in particular.
Can see that back 4 for North Carolina, and that includes Olivia Mickley on the far side, number 16, who's very familiar with this field. Transfer from Duke, joining the Tar Heels in this her graduate year. Spent the last 4 seasons with the Blue Devils, number 16 in white. And it's a young back line. It's a young team, really, with a lot of new players, as we said, coming in. 8 players, actually 9 technically transferring out, 9 going pro from last year's team. Do the math, you can tell that's a lot to replace. So 15 new players coming in for the Tar Heels this year, including the freshman class, ranked number 8 in the country. Offside flag coming up. It gives us a moment here, Lori. Let's take a look at your keys tonight for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, and for North Carolina, it is about embracing this atmosphere. They know that this is a young team. It's going to be a loud atmosphere, so just embracing it, being excited about it, playing freely. But then also, just offside, Elgin on this left-hand side, the combination between her and Simber. Bella Simber will pinch in, try to get the ball to her feet, and tuck in and almost be like a midfielder at times, and that will allow for Elgin to be able to get forward, join into the attack. That is going to be an important aspect. There's a bit of a risky play back there for Freeman, but that is going to be an interesting combo on this left-hand side for North Carolina, as we're going to see this team try to keep a bit more possession than we have in really throughout the program for North Carolina.
Certain things, though, as you've said, are part of Carolina DNA, and David Nahas telling us that hasn't changed. Pressure coming at you in waves, and you just saw that. And don't think for a second Leah Freeman wasn't sending a little message right there in goal saying, you can come at me and I can handle it. Duke now going down the other way. Farrah Walters now a shot at the near post. Gagne makes a save.
Well, a great look at Duke's dynamism that we talked about. They have shifted to this 3-back formation that allows them to have width, that allows them to have depth in the attack. They want to go with pace going forward. Great example, as soon as it's turned over, they're going to go quickly, and they'll have numbers in the box to try to get on the end of any type of service.
No secret that Duke knew they had to come out strong in this 2024 after a really disappointing year last year, not making the NCAA tournament, first losing season since 2014. And Robbie Church telling us that was not Duke soccer. And all of these players felt that they wanted to come out and make a statement. Duke coming in with a record of 2-1-0 so far. They've only played 3 games, had their game last Sunday, supposed to be against Tennessee. Would have been a great challenge and test. That was canceled due to weather.
Well, and that'll be the big question. As North Carolina's played 6 games already so far this season, only 3 for Duke. So North Carolina clearly more played in terms of games. How do they react? Good move right here on this near side from Oliaro.
Yeah, Oliaro, the former Tar Heel. Coach is joking, it's the first trade in college soccer history. Oliaro and
Had a good
Migley.
laugh at that one too.
Well, things are changing in college soccer. Linda Ullmark, a freshman to watch, a freshman that Damon Neha says you would pay to see this kid play. Number 7 in white. Watch when she is on the ball. Aria Nagai, transfer from Princeton, taking it away in the middle. But Cam Roller feels like a veteran presence there in the back. Sophomore for the Blue Devils.
And those 3 in the back for Duke are going to have to be really mindful because of number 13, Fossey. She is going to be the player for North Carolina that's going to stretch, look to be able to get in behind those 3. Have just to be really mindful if there's no...
Oh, what a touch from Graham. Springing the ball forward, and Kat Rader just not quite able to get there.
Well, it's not really just about the formation for Duke. It's about having players around the ball. And immediately and early on in this game, you can see that there's a lot of numbers. In particular, the midfield is where they have a numerical advantage. Really good vision from Graham to be able to play that ball first time to try to get in behind.
Yeah, you can see that early on, can't you, Lori? That advantage, which we knew numerically Duke would have in the midfield with the way that they're aligned. They've got that box midfield of 4 that they're working with. Let's see how North Carolina maybe adjusts to that as this one goes on, because Duke finding all kinds of space.
Well, it's just going to be important that Della Rose and the guy keep their positioning and make sure that they don't get separated from their attackers or their back line. Just stay connected and then pull Ullmark back at times to help out as well.
Can hear the band, see them on the far side, providing a bit of atmosphere there. Oliaro sizing up her former teammate Emerson Elgin, and now right up the middle looking for Rader. Boy, Duke desperately wants to get Kat Rader going. Just 1 goal on the season. It came from a penalty kick. And as you mentioned earlier, Lori, 19 goals her first 2 seasons. ACC Freshman of the Year 2 years ago. We know what she can do. Duke knows it too. Just want to see those goals start coming. It's been a pretty electric first few minutes for Duke thus far in this one. Putting the Tar Heels on their heels, if you will. Taking a page out of North Carolina's book. A couple of freshman center backs for North Carolina, but they are bold. They believe. Those 2 in the center, Armstrong and Gattino. Maggie Graham, graduate student with the Blue Devils. Great experience. Oliaro.
Well, the only thing right now for both teams, just forcing it a bit too much, making the right decisions to be able to break pressure for North Carolina on that last attempt from Armstrong, but then it's an easy giveaway. That allows for Duke to come back, start the attack, and then a heavy-weighted pass trying to play in behind for them. So both teams, we know there's going to be a lot of emotions with this rivalry, but can they be just a bit more composed once they do break pressure to find that final pass?
Robbie Church really loving that duo of Karina Laguerre on the ball now and Hannah Bibar, the 2 lower midfielders, if you will, in that box in the middle. Hannah Bibar, graduate transfer from Harvard, number 18, 2-time All-American at Harvard. And she's been bright thus far for Duke, both in matches and in training. It's really been impressive. North Carolina looking to find a footing in this match. Linda Ullmark. Tar Heels unbeaten at 6-0. And they've had to fight for a few of those. We're in a tight one against Georgia, wind up winning 4-3. 3-2 was a scoreline at Colorado in their 2nd game of the season. But the last 3, Carolina has shut out all of their opponents Now in the box, going to the far post was Walters. Oliaro. Left-footed cross, headed away.
And we're up! Sprint, sprint, sprint!
Good. Get in behind us. Yep.
Roller really the last line of defense, and hits it all the way into the opposite box. And Maggie Graham, just a little note to the defense, she's coming. Laguerre. Going out wide. Haas still in the box. Walters couldn't control it, and now the flag does come up. Lori, let's take a look again at your keys for Duke.
Yeah, well, I said about having a strong start for Duke, and we've already seen that. It's been really difficult right now for North Carolina to be able to get out of their own defensive half. So well done from the Duke Blue Devils, and then also utilize their midfield advantage. Numerically, they do have that advantage. They're close-knit, the spacing is really good, and they're forcing these turnovers right here.
Yeah, that is trouble, and luckily North Carolina, on their part, some good luck, fortunate to get out of it.
Well, and it all starts with the pressing, but just the tightness in terms of spacing behind the ball when they're in possession, but also out of possession. So right now, this is where North Carolina just needs to settle down, be a bit more composed, get Tessa De La Rose on the ball right now, more involved in this game, so she can start orchestrating them in possession in the attack.
Del Rose, pounded by Walters, went to the back line and Armstrong. Sometimes there are those games, Lori, where you just feel like the other team has an extra player, and you know, a lot of times that's what North Carolina does to other teams. You immediately feel like you're being pressed down upon by more than 11, but right now, Duke finding the right spots all over the field.
Suffocating, exactly. That is the best word for it, and typically, you're right, we've called many of those games from North Carolina where they've had that advantage, but right now, Duke Blue Devils pressing, working together. As soon as it's turned over, they're connecting their first pass. Really, this is the first bout or second bout of possession that we've seen for North Carolina this first 15 minutes or so.
7 teams ranked this week in the top 25, including numbers 1 through 4. Stanford ascending to that #1 spot, North Carolina at 2, Florida State at 3, Virginia at 4. So Duke is my point with all of that, not in the top 25, and it's so early, still so much can happen. Be curious to see what this Blue Devil team can do. And also important to note, it's been a positive start, but nothing to show for it yet. This is Hannah Bibar, player I mentioned, transfer from Harvard. Made 3 trips to the NCAA tournament. Good step in from the freshman center back, Trinity Armstrong. Duke back in control. Bibar trying to find a gap, instead turns it over. Nagai wins it, setting up an opportunity. Sember. Once again, Tar Heels force back.
But that positioning of Bella Sember is really where they could take an advantage, because she is playing as a left winger, but primarily she'll tuck in, as we mentioned early on in this first half. That will allow for Elgin to be able to occupy the entire width of the left-hand side. But when Sember pinches in, then it forces whether or not the midfield of Duke are going to pick her up, or is the back line going to step in. And if they don't do it at quick enough timing, then she'll have a free open option to be able to either go herself or play that final pass.
Armstrong did well there to elude the defender, get the ball turned around. Now North Carolina in business, looking the other way. Look at all the numbers to play through now. And the Tar Heels find a corridor to the attack. Fossey, 4 goals, 1 assist on the season. Lays it off. December again will take the shot. Certainly has that in her back pocket, but that one right at Freeman.
Yeah, much better for North Carolina, finding the width and coming back across, circulating the ball, then finding Simber once again in those hit a bit of half spaces. Difficult to defend because, again, is it the midfield or is it going to be the back line that picks her up? North Carolina will certainly want her to continue, sorry, Jen, to continue to look for her in those spaces.
Yeah, Tar Heels just starting to gain a little ground, a little more of the ball here. That's going to be a foul against the Tar Heels. You can see McKenna Dominguez, senior, really getting her first playing time for North Carolina. Had just 10 appearances over her first 3 years as a Tar Heel. You like this 3-back?
I do like the 3-back because I like the starting positions it allows you, because you can still, again, have the width, you can have the depth to be able to play these long balls, especially with Freeman's distribution. What a ball that is. It's going to be offside in the end. But the ability to play that ball, have players in and around the receiver of that ball is going to be so important for Duke as they build into this season, because they have so much attacking firepower. It's just about getting them in better positions to utilize it.
Should point out for North Carolina, no Maddie Darlene. She is away with the US U20 team at the World Cup at the moment. And no Olivia Thomas. She is out with injury. Not sure how long that's going to keep her sidelined, but not available for tonight. Another dynamic playmaker they love to take advantage of, because this is not as deep a Tar Heel team as we've been accustomed to seeing in the past. Really beautiful night here in Durham, North Carolina. Just exactly the kind of night you'd want to play or watch a soccer match. High today, really only in the mid-70s. A little breeze going across Koskinen Stadium. Damon Nahas telling us he's really trying to let his players figure things out, wants to give them freedom, but wants them to adapt without hearing his voice. Find patience.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be the key, right? Because one of the things that's synonymous with this North Carolina team is high press, put teams under pressure, go to goal as quickly as possible, and all those things will stay the same, but how do you bring nuance into that and recognize when the moment is right to be able to go quickly or just to slow things down? And what we're already seeing with this team and so many new faces, a bit more possession style from North Carolina. So it's just about recognizing those opportunities more often so that they can be more impactful with their possession.
And if you've been watching North Carolina over the last few years, you know this isn't a one-year change all of a sudden. This has been building, and that was always the plan for Anson Dorrance, bringing on Damon Nahas. Joined the staff in 2015. He's been associate head coach. So starting to work some more of that nuance in, and you know, Damon telling us he never felt restrained. He was really given a lot of freedom to try to figure out how this program would advance and move forward, even before officially taking the interim title this year, with Anson announcing his retirement.
Well, and just on that last play for North Carolina, even though they're at a numerical disadvantage in the central parts of the midfield, they can create an advantage themselves in the wide areas, especially when Elgin gets a little bit higher and you have Oliaro for Duke, the right wing back, has dropped to that back line. If they do it quickly enough and recycle the ball, switch to play, they can create their own 2v1 in the wide channels, but just have to make sure they do it, and if it's on, can bypass it and force Oliaro to be in a precarious position defensively.
Raider coming at the center back, Bella Gattino. Transfer from Northwestern working that far sideline for the Blue Devils in that left wing back position to start this match. North Carolina working hard to try to get it out of that corner. In case you missed it earlier, this is technically a non-conference matchup. These two teams, programs, like the opportunity to try to test one another, play one another more than once during the season. So their official ACC matchup will occur, let's just build the drama now, in the final game of the regular season, October 31st in Chapel Hill. Oh my goodness, what might that look like?
Well, I also think that they love that there's not much travel involved in this rivalry either. So right down the road, doesn't require much energy, especially early on in the season.
And certainly a lot to be gained in this matchup.
Find out a lot about your team, win or lose.
Oh, good touch to get free. Oh, Mark!
Well, I loved one of the things that Damon Nahas said about her is her ability to take players on 1v1. Just has to continue to get used to the level, the pace of the college game, because that second defender does come so quickly, and you see she has the vision, great first touch to be able to elude the defense, but then immediately Duke has coverage behind, able to break up that play in that 1v1 attempt from Olmark.
Gattino, younger sister of Ava Gattino, two-time All-American, ACC Defender of the Year at Notre Dame. Bibar patient in the midfield for Duke. Last time these two teams met, scoreline was 1-1. It was here at Duke. I called that match. It came down to the final minute. Pat Rader found the equalizer. So it was 1-1 the final. And in that match, North Carolina also had a penalty kick saved. It felt like a rivalry, as you would imagine. But still, that O in the win column hovering over these Duke players as they try to take down North Carolina on their home field for the first time ever tonight.
And just watching Walters, number 27 for Duke, she is their center forward and doing a good job of pressing, leading the line defensively. But then when they are in possession, these are the areas right here. A little bit too early, she would have been offside on that anyway, but she needs to be looking in behind. A lot of the attempts so far have been back to goal. Armstrong for North Carolina have stepped in wonderfully to apply pressure, dispossess Walters. Just has to be a little bit stronger with her positioning back to goal so she can keep possession. Then they can build with numbers like we saw in the first part of this half so far.
Yeah, Duke's had to be a little more defensive the last few minutes. Credit North Carolina for that. Big collision, both players down. Play on at the moment from our referee, Daniel Radford, now blows the whistle. Hannah Bibar, welcome to Duke, North Carolina.
Really good back and forth to this game so far, Jen. Duke better of the first 15 minutes or so. Last 10 have been North Carolina in possession. Both creating some momentum, trying to lock the other team in. Both coaches really reiterating it's really going to be about details. Final pass, little touch that can bypass a defender and separate them, because you can already see both teams not separated by much at all.
Just three shots total in the match so far. 2 for Duke, 1 for North Carolina. Rader in the box, had it tapped away. Armstrong, excellent defending. Think about Savvy King, what a great defender she was for North Carolina last year. And young, but now she's playing in the NWSL. Macy Bell, also another North Carolina defender. I mean, we could actually spend quite a bit of time, we realized, talking with Damon Nahas earlier today. If you just think about the players who could be here, either left early to go pro or decided to just go pro straight from high school. They had a few of those players. Like Jaden Shaw was a player that Damon Nahas was telling us was supposed to be here. U.S. national team playing for San Diego in the NWSL. Graham looking out wide for Oliaro. Pressure still coming from Duke. Back to Oliaro. Wonder if that lighter shade of blue on the cleats is on purpose for the former Tar Heel. Falls back to Katie Groff. Haas. Bibar looking up the middle. The turn is a good one for Raider. There's a little bump there at the end, but it puts Raider on the ground. She might call it more than a little bump. Gagne able to pick up the ball.
Oh, and it all starts, though, just with patience from Duke to move it around, find the open space. And we've mentioned Laguerre, even Bibar. That's a ball played in. Radar tries to get onto it at the very last second.
Is that a clean play at the end?
Interesting.
Is there a play on the ball being made there by Emerson Elgin, number 6?
So what's interesting is Gagne does such a good job of being able to come off her line and go to ground. And I think Elgin and Raider are going shoulder to shoulder. Elgin gets the better of it and then loses her momentum, falls over Gagne. I think it's the right no call because in the end, Gagne has already gone to ground. Trying to scoop it up.
My only argument with you there would be that the elbow that you see come out, and you could see it from a couple of angles, and we do have expanded video review this year in college soccer where a play like that, if it's a potential penalty, can be looked at.
Yeah, and then from that angle, you certainly see Elgin come in, as you mentioned, Jen. That's a better angle with her arm.
So to catch you up, I know that's a lot to look at on the screen, but these are important because there's some big changes here based on what they were able to look at. This is not VAR. There is not a video assistant referee helping out our referee. It is the officiating crew on the field, but they can go back and look at these situations.
Yeah, I actually think that they are going to give this as a penalty kick, just coming in with that arm. And mostly I was looking at Gagne coming off her line, being proactive, going to ground, and then you rightfully pointed out, though, Elgin leading with her arm. If they had gone more shoulder to shoulder, I think it would be a fair play. And Elgin just getting the better of her, and then it's the momentum that carries her over Gagne. But here it is again, a wonderful through ball. Radar wise to it, but Elgin coming through the back, just extending her forearm into Radar is what pushes her over.
I agree with you. I think we will see a penalty coming here, but of course that's going to come down to the decision of our referee, Daniel Radford. Mentioned there was a penalty kick taken in this matchup last year by North Carolina. It was saved.
After review, there is no penalty.
Wow. So it's also important to note the call on the field there was no call. There was no foul called on the play. So there is still that line that referees need to feel has been crossed, that it is indisputable if they're going to overturn what was called on the field.
I think one thing in particular is it's not a pleasing sight to still see a Raider down on the ground for the Duke Blue Devils. You know, your key components in the attack, experience as well.
Yeah, that's...
But for North Carolina, I mean, it was possession from Duke to be able to circulate that ball around and then look for that little gap in the back line to force Elgin to have to recover quickly, caught out of position. More so for North Carolina, it's just about being mindful of those moments when they're stretched, keeping themselves in good positions when the Duke Blue Devils do have extended possession.
And we talked about the importance of a player like Kat Raider getting going for this Duke offense, which has already shown they have the potential to be much more dynamic a lot of players who can add to the attack, but Rader is the one you look to. This is the one who burst onto the scene 2 years ago as ACC Freshman of the Year, tied a Duke freshman record with 12 goals her first year. Last year led the team in scoring with 7 goals. And you just certainly hope she's okay. Long delay here as both teams will have to reset once we do resume play, but Rader still on the field. Emerson Elgin perhaps fortunate. That was not called a penalty kick, but greater concern for Robbie Church at the moment is the condition of his striker, Kat Rader. These are never easy for either team, really. Certainly if you're the team with a player down, you have all the concern about their health. And then both teams really trying to figure out how to regroup. We had a great tempo and momentum going in this one. And as they take a break here and we wait to see what happens with Kat Rader, we'll just take a short break as well.
BK's new fiery menu, 5 items, 5 levels, so you can do you. Level 1's like, level 5's a bit, woo! It's fiery. At BK, have it your way.
All right, listen up. Your fire defense isn't cutting it, and it's almost game time.
Hey, you need killer alarms in every room. We're playing zone defense. I mean, fires can happen anywhere.
Like here. Here too.
Des, you can't handle the heat.
Can I kick it? Yes, you can.
Can I try?
당연하지.
We welcome you back to Durham. This is the play that has everything at a standstill at the moment. That's Kat Rader for Duke going for the ball. She wounds up falling over the goalkeeper, Claire Gagne. Obviously took some contact from Emerson Elgin, and the applause is a good sound, but not the sight you want to see as she is being carried off. No weight being put on that left leg at all. So Rader off for Duke. And the Blue Devils will go ahead and make a couple of changes. Devin Lynch will replace Rader up top, and then Mia Minestrella also coming on for Farrah Walters. So a little change in the attack. Walters still out there at the moment. How does Duke absorb this in the moment, Lori?
Well, I think both teams actually with just a little bit of a downtime able to regroup, settle in, and we've talked about the momentum shift, but emotionally for Duke, with Rader being one of their leaders in the attack, just have to continue to find moments where they can keep possession and just compose themselves, get on the ball a bit more than we saw as of late. But that last opportunity before Rader got injured was through their possession, and then being able to recycle the ball, move it side to side, and just be patient. But you could also say the same thing for North Carolina. Find moments where they can be patient. Bit too much forcing of the ball for both sides once they get into good positions in the attack.
Elgin back to her goalkeeper, Gagne. No score in this first Battle of the Blues of 2024, a non-conference matchup technically between Duke and North Carolina here on ACC Network tonight. Jen Hildreth, Lori Lindsay, and you hanging out, watching these two teams battle it out. North Carolina currently ranked number 2 in the country, 6-0 start for the Tar Heels. Duke to 1-0, and now is the change I just mentioned a moment ago. Minestrella coming on to replace Walters in the attack. Walters had some good moments. Her movement, the Santa Clara transfer for the Blue Devils. No changes yet for North Carolina. That in itself is a change from what we were accustomed to seeing in past years. There's a smaller roster.
It'll be interesting, too, as this team grows under Damon Nahas in terms of what that looks like, because, as you mentioned earlier, this isn't unusual, them looking to have bouts of possession and then also still have that dynamism to put teams under pressure as quickly as possible. There's going to be a late challenge on Elgin and potentially a dangerous free kick for them to be able to whip this in from the wide areas. But now without the amount of change, because when they had so many changes, it almost felt like here's that foul. And just a late challenge from Bibar as she's attempted to try to slow down Elgin. But it almost felt like it disrupted the continuity of that possession. And so then they were caught in between, trying to play direct, trying to keep possession. Now with the players staying on the field a bit longer, can they find continuity quicker and just a more collective unit in the attack?
Sember with the free kick. Freeman coming out, punches it away. Good punch, too. Got some good distance, but North Carolina's still on it. And interesting, too, I think, Lori, that's one of the first times we saw Elgin get that high up the field for North Carolina. That's something they want in this formation. She had not been able to do it very much to this point. This time she does, and she earns the set piece.
Well, especially as Sember moves in and pinches inside to be able to get the ball to her feet. You need that width to come from Elgin. And you think about this Duke team that is playing in the 3-back, if they can't switch and get one of their wingbacks to drop to essentially create a 4-back defensively when they're set, then those are the spaces on the outside of those 3 center backs for Duke that they're most vulnerable. That's where you want Elgin to exploit, getting high up the field. But that means North Carolina has to move the ball quickly. They have to circulate it around in possession to be able to allow for Elgin to be able to make that run.
Change up top for the Blue Devils as Cal Rader had to come off after the collision. Her left foot in a boot. Menestrella also replacing Walters up top, number 13. See her in the middle for the Blue Devils.
And it's just a small thing, but that is what this game is about. Between this, or in this rivalry, is the details. And initially, this ball on the near side should have been played in front of Oliara to be able to attack quickly. Instead, play behind her, then they have to switch it around. Now a loose ball allows for North Carolina to be able to regain possession. But it's just a small little detail. If that ball's played in front of Oliara, then all of a sudden you're going with numbers at a quick pace to be able to try to break down North Carolina quickly, and it forces them to have to be able to think quickly, defend quickly in those moments. Instead, they're able to get set, get numbers back behind the ball. It makes it much easier for North Carolina in those instances.
Runner on this near side, McKenna Dominguez on the near side at the moment for the Tar Heels. Started off the match on the far side. Looks like she and Sember switched at the moment. No, Sember's still over here. Delarose. Delarose, Damon Nahas telling us possibly most valuable asset on this North Carolina team, just with all the things that she brings. Great fitness, can cover a lot of ground, can play a lot of different positions. Helped Lori Lindsay win championships over the summer, the TST.
Carried us as
MVP, right?
Yeah.
That was such a cool tournament, 7v7.
Bella were just fantastic. Lights out, best players, thank goodness. Old ladies like myself, slow legs, they could run all day.
Here is your other teammate, Bella Sember, as you just mentioned. Oh, good touch inside! Just a little out of the reach of Olmark. Look, I was just about to go there and say they had to carry you.
Oh,
You stole my thunder.
I was, exactly.
You
Let me just say it before I let you take credit for that.
I give Heather O'Reilly a lot of credit too, former Tar Heel.
Still running, so listen, it's just me.
Oh, I wasn't knocking Hale. I was just giving her credit for putting the team together.
That's why I was like, get out of here. You're trying to knock me.
Oh, we have a lot of fun. We got a lot of fun lined up for halftime, too. Be sure to stick around, as obviously change is afoot for both of these programs. Robbie Church has announced this will be his final season coaching the Blue Devils. This is 24th year at Duke, and of course, the change that was felt all over college soccer. Anson Dorrance, who started this dominant, dynastic Tar Heel program after 45 seasons in charge of the women, announcing his retirement. And we'll talk a little more about that at halftime. Dominguez keeping it alive. That's a tough ball to play. Whoa, the defense had to get that right. Still alive for the Tar Heels. Long shot, blocked.
Well, that entire play started from Bella Simber picking out the right pass to Dominguez and instead of trying to split the defense, plays it to her feet, allows her to be able to get into an advanced position, and then you get more numbers in the box. It fumbles a little bit. Freeman has to come out, and then eventually they clear it away and collect possession. But it all starts with the right decision, and that's going to be the key for both of these teams as it wears on, because a few easy giveaways, and I would imagine one of the talking points that Robbie Church is going to have.
Fossey to Olmark, touch and a save! That happened fast, and Freeman up to the challenge.
Well, Olmark showing exactly why she's so dynamic in tight spaces, the combination between her and Fossey. Fossey likes to try to get in behind. Olmark will want to combine. The two of them together cause a lot of problems. Really the first time that we've seen them link up in this game. And immediately, it's such a quick attack, it's difficult to defend. But just going back to my previous point with Robbie Church, one of the things I think they're going to have to talk about is how can they be more ruthless? In these moments here, it's always a pass that goes back. It allows North Carolina to be able to get set defensively.
Oh, that's a good poke forward, but a little too strong.
And that's a better idea, trying to get in behind. The pass to Rader that ended up leading to her injury as well. But it's those teasing balls to try to get in behind, but most of it has just been to feet, and then they play backwards. It allows for Armstrong, Gatino to be able to step, squeeze the game, and it's just too easy. But with this attack for the Duke Blue Devils, they have the ability to stretch and get in behind. They just have to look for those opportunities more often.
And it looks like the Tar Heels, too, have shifted things. I mentioned Dominguez on this near side. So Fossey, who started up, really is what you would say the number 9, the center forward, now far out on the right. Semper is more central, starting position. We expected her to cut in anyway. And then Olmark underneath her in that attacking midfield position. What will the Blue Devils do with this opportunity? Oliaro plays it off for Laguerre. Step in from Chico.
Yeah, front-footed, wise to it, just steps in, makes the play. That is a big-time challenge, because when you're looking at trying to change the tide, a lot of North Carolina now having the possession, being a bit more on the front foot. And it's Duke that's chasing this game a bit. Now you get that step in, slow things down. Even if you just fight this ball in, create a first and second ball attempt, loosens that back line and forces North Carolina to have to defend.
Devin Lynch doing the honors for Duke. Dominguez under immediate pressure as Laguerre tries to win it back. Leah Freeman, former Pac-12 goalkeeper of the year at Oregon. Spent her first year with the Blue Devils last year. Was named third team All-ACC. Right idea, wrong execution.
Actually, and it did look like the flag is up with the assistant referee, but I think that's a close call. I think it was actually Elgin that had kept her on. Disconnected from the back line. Really close call. But the right idea in terms of finding that space, if they're going to play a bit of a high line and there's no pressure on the ball, get it in behind, chase them down if you're Duke playing here at home in front of your home crowd.
And this is a more experienced Blue Devil team. Yes, it brought in a couple transfers, which accounts for some of that experience, but player like Nikki Chico, Maggie Graham, Katie Groff, these players are sick of tasting defeat or draw when it comes to facing their rival on their home field. Does that help fire up this team a little more tonight? There's that ball over the top. Handled by Elgin. Good touch, Dominguez, the first one. And second defender there for Duke to help. Olmark has a chance to go one-on-one. She wants it. Perhaps thought she had a teammate closer than in reality there was. Sember. A little over-ambitious. And no changes yet for North Carolina. Now the first two coming on. Aven Alvarez, a freshman out of New Hill, North Carolina, comes on to replace Dominguez. And Ashley Penny, another freshman out of Miami, Florida, will replace Sember. First few minutes, Lori, I thought, this looks like a new Duke. Very different than the last team that we saw last year. That was by design. They wanted that. And look at Armstrong getting up here for North Carolina. Tar Heels grew into this first half, it feels like. Perhaps 0-0 feels like the fair scoreline.
And also when you lose a player like Kat Rader in terms of her movement, the work that she puts in the midfield, and that was a real key and talking point coming into this game for Duke was the numerical advantage that they have in the midfield, and she plays a huge part. It's tough to replace that and just kind of switch the momentum, but credit to this young side for North Carolina now being able to keep some possession, forcing Duke to have to chase and defend quite a bit, but now can they do more with it? And both teams will have that conversation. How can we do more with our possession and be more threatening in the attack? Because they've really canceled each other out so far in this half, and to your point, 0-0 is a fair scoreline, it feels like.
The only caveat I'd put with that is what you and I both thought upon review should have been called a penalty on the play on Kat Rader that took her out of this match.
And I'm still standing by that we saw the shove that caused her to be able to fall and then take the momentum over Gagne. But, you know, I can also see where there is not overturned since there wasn't an original call to then be able to call it a penalty kick. So at the end of the day as well, doesn't feel like the biggest shift in terms of how this game has gone.
Now referee's fully aware those are match-changing moments. Want to make sure they are absolutely certain if they're going to turn over something like that.
She plays a square ball.
And respect that. This is Alvarez. Freshman who just came on a few moments ago, has it taken away. Lynch. What a rocket of a goal she had in the last match for the Blue Devils from about 30 yards out. First of her career for the junior. Laguerre asking for a little help. Groff, who came up, tried to further this ball up the field. North Carolina, can they hold their line? Not sure that they did. Nope. Early flag comes up. You could see that building. And either the ball just wasn't released quite quick enough, or player on the outside, in this case, Olmark, just couldn't hold a run up.
But it is one of the best buildups that we've seen for North Carolina. They break pressure, they get numbers, and then they're just trying to play the line. Olmark one coming out of the midfield. That's what you want, just to mix things up. Have multiple runners trying to toe the line. Just really needs to be looking across the line to make sure she keeps herself on, because she can see the entire field across that back line of Duke. A bit too eager in that moment.
Giveaway. Can North Carolina take advantage? Delarose off to Alvarez. She and Lynch becoming quite familiar with one another on this near sideline, and good job. Lynch at least forced North Carolina into figuring out another way forward. Fossey realizing she'd be offside, didn't even make a play for that ball. Creeping toward halftime, be sure to stick around. As we said, we have a special little feature looking back at what life looked like when Robbie Church took over this Duke Blue Devil team and when Ansa Dorrance first started the North Carolina program. Duke, perhaps something happening in this final couple of minutes. No. North Carolina stout defensively. Back to the Blue Devils, a chance for the turn. Still no shot. Should there have been? Maybe. B-Bar. Can't get it past Carolina. Tar Heels will put it out of play. Oh, this ball bounces fortuitously. Duke with a chance. Yes! The captain, the graduate student in her 5th year wearing that Duke Blue Devil blue, Maggie Graham, taking advantage of the gift that was given.
We talked about just the big balls over the top to be more threatening, take more risks, and this is exactly why, because sometimes you just get a bounce that goes your way and then runners coming off of this, and it is so difficult to pick up this run. A player coming out of the midfield, Maggie Graham, with her experience, her ability to put games away, and all of a sudden, just like that, with less than a minute to go in this first half, Duke Blue Devils at home, up 1-0. Maggie Graham's 2nd of the season. What a goal that is. Big ball over the top, runners coming off, and Duke up 1-0.
Referee over to take a look.
No, it's okay. Just win it. No, keep going. The next ricochet. I got it. Thank you.
See if he's going to change anything here.
After review, good goal.
The crowd applauds and sighs in relief.
To the point.
Yes.
Good goal.
No, I appreciate the communication from Daniel Radford, our referee. Very clear and concise, and has also been pretty quick with his decisions.
Well, and such an important timing to that, because now all of a sudden you go into halftime, if they can see out this half, with all of the momentum, you got yourself through the ups and downs and just the changes in momentum in this first half. But it's that big ball over the top that put North Carolina under some pressure, misplaced pass. Then you get the run. Fortuitous bounce, as you mentioned, Jen, for Maggie Graham. But what a finish that is. Gagne off the line just places it with pure class.
We shall see what the second half brings. For 44 minutes, it was scoreless, but in the 45th,
Keep going.
there's the whistle we've been waiting for. Second half, here we go from Durham, North Carolina. Tar Heels visiting, not too far away, but visiting in white tonight. Attacking left to right across your screen. Duke Blue Devils with the lead. 45th minute goal from Maggie Graham. They're wearing all blue.
Well, and I really loved what Damon Nahas, and he's mentioned that to us as well. play with emotion, but don't get emotional about it. And really what that means is, yes, you want to press, you want to be excited, enjoy the atmosphere, play freely, but then also what is your reaction if things aren't going your way? What is the reaction if they are? And just can you be composed, play within yourself in important moments, especially as they get tense, and then take the most of it. So the reaction in this second half is going to be incredibly important for North Carolina to be able to steal one back, but then also just help shift the momentum for this young team, because
ball bounces in the box. Devin Lynch chases it down for Duke.
6-0 as this season has gone on, but they know there's going to be some difficult times. So good opportunity for them to be able to rebound, respond to that late goal, and get one back themselves.
Karina Laguerre, key midfielders for Duke. Now Ella Haas earns her team a corner, and this is just the second corner kick of the match. Duke had one in the first half. That's been it so far. Hannah Bibar, graduate transfer from Harvard. Expecting some big things from her this year in Durham. There's a service toward the back post, headed, but not on target.
Well, I like that service. Has enough pace on it. Whipped in enough to be able to find the back post, and Duke trying to rise above. Just couldn't really generate enough power. One, to keep it on frame, and then also be able to get past Gagne, but good looking ball early on in this game off a set piece.
A chance in behind. And another corner coming. Farrah Walters causing some problems. Robbie Church telling us at halftime he wanted to see his team get back to that intensity that they came out with in this match. A couple of early corner kicks here to start the second half. Bibar to try from the far side now. Headed away initially by North Carolina. Duke still on it. It goes out wide to Haas. Left-footed roller. Not able to be put anywhere near the keeper. Too bad. Beautiful build-up.
A beautiful build-up, because it starts in the middle, then they use the width. They get numbers in the box, and instead of just floating a ball in, most players will just be hopeful balls that they're going to try to get into the mix. Instead, it's still a cutting ball back in the line of Bibar. Just almost slices through it, allows it to come across her body. The momentum of the ball taking away as she comes through it, sending it wide. But I love that build up. Get the runners going forward, cutting ball back.
Those two transfers have been key. Robbie Church has talked about that. Ella Haas, all Big Ten selection out of Northwestern. Played that ball in to Hannah Bibar, the transfer from Harvard. This ball bounces back to North Carolina. Olmark, a player you said you wanted to see more on it for the Tar Heels, if they're to get some better offensive looks this half.
Well, and if Duke is going to play those long balls, then they have to be ready and be able to win the first and then the second, because otherwise you're going to be stretched, and that's where Olmark will be able to float in between the lines, get faced up, and run at the back line of Duke.
Mia Oliaro on the far side, sophomore transfer out of North Carolina. Didn't start for the Tar Heels last year in her freshman year, but she's from Chapel Hill High School, and there's a lot of connections, Oliaro, to UNC. Her dad, UNC Associate Director of Sports Medicine. But changing colors, Oliaro, this year. North Carolina on the move. Fossey is calling for it. Elgin gets back on the far side of that back line for North Carolina. Now it's at the feet of the Blue Devils. Bibar, Laguerre dictating things in the middle. Chico. When the play slows like this, how does Duke break out of it?
Well, I don't think you need to break out of it. Utilize that to your advantage. And they have players close by. They're working it really well.
Laguerre takes the shot in the end.
Oh, just a bit of a half chance there for Laguerre, but takes it really well, gets all of it. But I think there's moments where both of these teams are going to look to slow things down, almost try to lull each other to sleep defensively, and then they'll look to go quickly. And it's very much what we just saw. It's Armstrong been really good defensively, aggressive with her approach, just wiggles her way out of pressure there. A bit risky, but showing her ability on the ball and not afraid to help build out of the back for this UNC side. But for this Duke team, they have experience, they have players that are tidy on the ball, they're good in tight spaces, so why not use that in this formation? It allows your starting positions to be higher up the field, so you can slowly move the ball around, be patient, and then look to go. You see a player down on that far side for North Carolina.
Looks like it's Emerson Elgin, the player who's down. She went down briefly in the first half as well at one point. And both of these teams right now, just with some of the injuries that they have, are thin on the back line. Damon Nahas quickly giving some adjustments and direction. It looks like they'll have the sub with Avin Alvarez coming on at the moment. Allowed a re-entry in the second half. I mean, there's not much there, but no, that is the last play before Sember sat down.
But obviously has the wrap on her quad, and you wonder how much.
Sorry.
Yep, you just wonder how much that is playing into Elgin's. Looks like some discomfort as she's still down on that far side.
Yeah. So at the moment, Elgin is out and Alvarez is in. North Carolina native played not too far away at Cary High School, Crossroads Flex High School. Played club with the North Carolina Courage.
And we'll see how much that substitution affects North Carolina, because Elgin, obviously their most experienced players, the only returning starter from last season, but then also just what she gives them, the pace, the ability to get up and down on that left-hand side to also join into the attack. And then that provides some nuance to the way that they want to play, because Bella Sember, who's typically played in that left wing position, she can tuck in where she's more comfortable. So we'll see if Alvarez on that far side actually can cover the same amount of ground, and he'll be able to do some of the work offensively as well.
And Duke attacking that space where Elgin vacated and earning themselves another corner. Third of this second half, fourth of the match for Duke. North Carolina has yet to earn one.
Well, and one of the things that Duke has done so well is use the wide areas, and they're forcing and finding that space when it's Elgin or Alvarez now. When they've gone up to join into the attack, that space is open, and quickly Duke is looking to attack, playing early balls in, that's forcing these corner kicks.
Devin Lynch to take it now. 2 assists for Lynch last year. Both of those came off corners. Nothing doing this time. I'd seen Hannah Bibar taking those corner kicks prior to that attempt from Lynch. Ball switches possession quickly back to Duke. Good cutback. And the shot from distance. Not where it needed to be.
Well, no, and a bit ambitious from Lynch, but also you like that front-footedness from her coming in, replacing Rader, being the one that cuts back, trying to look ahead and be proactive with her approach. Does really well, but just gets underneath it. That one's always rising, but I like the start to this second half from the Duke Blue Devils. Been on the front foot, much like they started in the first, have forced North Carolina really pinned into their own defensive half, and I think that's the question. You asked me, how does Duke get out of some of the slower possession, but how does North Carolina adjust now? We saw some of the adjustments. We heard Damon Neha say that, of bringing an attacker back to help with the box in the midfield against this Duke team, but now how can they shift momentum, regain some of the possession, and generate more in the way of the attack? Starts with putting in a big tackle, and players starting to step up and make adjustments with their defensive approach by gaining some ground defensively.
Both outside backs for North Carolina who started the match have now been subbed out, as Olivia Migley, former Duke Blue Devil who had been at right back, just came off, making way for Ashley Penny, and then Elgin having to come off a few moments ago for Alvarez. Nagai. Duke at the moment, content to concede that space on North Carolina's own side of the field. Lynch looking for the interception. Omar got there first. Long ball over the top, but right to Duke. Duke playing with the lead thanks to the goal that came in the final minute of the first half from Maggie Graham. Lynch. Duke trying to take down their rivals, North Carolina, for the first time ever on their home field. North Carolina 17-0-3 all time here in Durham. Last time these two teams played here, it looked like North Carolina was going to add another win to that tally all the way till the final minute of that match, and then Kat Rader able to equalize for Duke. 1-1 the final last year when these two teams met. They'll meet again this season. Final match of the regular season. That'll be the one that counts toward ACC play on October 31st in Chapel Hill. North Carolina picked 8th in the United Soccer Coaches preseason poll. They've moved themselves up to number 2 with that 6-0 record so far. Foul on the far side gives us a whistle. Lynch. Starting the second half in place of the injured Cat Raider. Went down in the first half with about 20 minutes to go. Bebar, fancy bit of footwork to keep possession now. Had Lynch, that was her intended target. North Carolina read it. Haas with some space. Cuts it in. No shot to be had, not yet. Duke still fighting for one. And eventually, Daniel Radford says we're going the other way.
Well, and with Alvarez coming into this lineup, it does look like North Carolina has shifted it into almost either a 3-back or a hybrid, because we are seeing Dominguez, who typically is a right winger. She's playing as a right back, the one that's receiving the ball right now, but it is a hybrid variation at times. She'll shift higher up. They're asking her to cover a lot of ground on this right-hand side. Alvarez on the far side will tuck in. There's just a way for them to be able to get more players and really match up a little bit better against this Duke team. I mean, one of the things that we know about Damon Nejas is it's really less about the actual formation. It's just about the decision-making, what spaces are you occupying. So regardless if they're in a 3-back, just allow them to get more players higher up the field and hopefully match up better with Duke.
Bebar and Lynch getting it to Graham, the goal scorer. Ball over the top. Walters is there, but so too is North Carolina. And the Tar Heels find some way to transition into the attack. Oh, nice moves. Crowd loves it from Laguerre, former US U20 player, part of the U20 World Cup in 2022. That's going on now, and a lot of collegiate players, many from the ACC away at that event, including Maddie Darlene for North Carolina. Oh, Mark. North Carolina. Patient in the attack, back to Delarose. Penny. North Carolina doing well to keep it where they want it. Armstrong, and she is savvy King-esque in the back with her confidence in the way she plays.
And tidy with the ball and understands when to take space and step up. And here's a bit more of that hybrid formation that we were talking about. Gaetano, Alvarez, and Armstrong creating that 3-back. And what that's doing is allowing them to have wing backs as well to go directly up against the wing backs for the Duke Blue Devils. I think if you're North Carolina, you're just looking at the setup right now too with this Duke team. They really only have Walters up top, so if they pick and choose their moments, they can unleash another one of those 3-backs as well. We're seeing Alvarez go now. Good advanced position on the far side, just off your screen. Because really, the 2 center backs or 2 players, whoever's back and providing cover, can take care of Walters. That means you can send more players, take more risks, because they do need to get one back. They're chasing this game.
Long ball over the top, possibility brewing for the Tar Heels. The initial threat contained. Big ball from Gattino. but in the end, out of play. Both teams looking to make a change on the whistle. Julia Sanicheva replacing Lynch for the Blue Devils. Sanicheva, a junior in her second year with Duke, transferred after winning a national championship with UCLA in 2022. And then Olivia Migley back on the former Duke Blue Devil, back on the field now for North Carolina. Migley replacing Dominguez, who, as you mentioned, doing all that running in the wingback spot. There is space that is open for Duke and Sanicheva. What a ball! Great diagonal through. And equally great defending. Carolina closing the space. You said it earlier, Lori, that these two teams just they've matched one another, whether it's been strategy or adjusting or just being there in the big moments.
Yeah, and this is when you do find out. We talked about this rivalry being so important in terms of finding out about one another. Could be a promising attack right now for Duke again.
Yeah, Haas timed that beautifully.
Well, loads of credit for Nagai in the midfield. She's put in a lot of work. Her and Della Rose having to come back, help out defensively in front of the back of four. She's the one that cuts out that ball in the end. The Princeton grad transfer, that's been immense. And provided some leadership and experience. I love the story from Damon Nahas, just saying that she was one of the players.
Oh, look at that ball from Laguerre.
Well, yep. One of the players that he had his eye on watching the tournament last year, NCAA tournament, and was like, who's this number 20? And then couldn't believe that she was in the portal, had a job lined up afterwards. Kids don't go to the workforce.
Not yet. Stay out of the real world just a little bit longer, come play for us, and that's exactly what happened.
But yeah, she has been immense, her and Della Rose, because when you do think about the advantage that Duke has had in being able to play, and one of the most important aspects in this game, because that was where they could potentially have the biggest asset.
Tough play to handle here, and it is
Armstrong once
done
again.
so well, yeah.
Just the timing to put herself in a good position to win that foot race. But the advantage that they would have, wide areas in the midfield, and here they go again. It's going to be important for North Carolina to shut them down, and they've done a good job.
Haas having her way against Migley. The crowd won't like it, but it's maybe fair with the foul called against Haas.
You like this work, and I think this is these are the areas that Duke has to continue to look for, because they've looked dangerous. Whether it's sending early balls in that have caused problems for the back line of North Carolina, or getting faced up in these wide areas. And just late in these games, 20 or so minutes left to go in regulation, it forces teams to have to defend. Defend in those 1v1 situations inside your own 18-yard box, have to keep your feet moving. So the more that Duke can continue to circulate the ball around, switch to the point of attack, really stretch this North Carolina team defensively in the horizontal spaces is going to be key.
This Duke team accustomed, at least through the first 3 matches they've played thus far, and they'd hoped for more. Had a match against Tennessee on Sunday that had to be canceled due to bad weather here in Durham. But through those games, Blue Devils averaging 23 shots per game, outshooting their opponent 69-19. 7 goals in their last 2 games. They had 15 all of last season. So they have been finding their flow offensively. They knew it would be harder tonight against North Carolina. It has been thus far. Tar Heels have yet to allow any opponent more than 11 shots in a match. Duke right now is at 7. Compared to 3 for the Tar Heels. Della Rose, does North Carolina need a little more of her in the midfield, dictating things? So many new faces, and wondering where that leadership's going to come from. Della Rose can be one of those players for North Carolina. Alvarez, the freshman, holding down that spot that Elgin had to leave when she came off earlier this half. Not sure of her status. And Alvarez forced into a big role, and these freshmen knew they were going to come in having to play a big role early. Just the way that the numbers played out with some of the departures in the offseason for North Carolina to the pros and transfer portal. These two freshman center backs certainly have stepped right in. Sember. There's a chance to turn there. Now Penny sees it. Migley. Gotta be a bit surreal for Olivia Migley. Played 4 years with the Duke Blue Devils, now wearing Carolina colors. Well, that's a brave turn on the ball. It results in a foul. Bella Gattina winning it. And extra style points in the process.
Well, these two center backs have done an excellent job of playing beyond their years. Right here, Gaetino sees the pressure coming from Bibar and knows that she can use it to her advantage. Just looks to spin with the ball, draws the foul. But this is a good little bout of possession that we've seen from North Carolina. I think even though it hasn't led to any sort of opportunity, Damon Nejas will be pleased with them being able to get more numbers forward, try to pin Duke back. Just know that they have to continue to move the ball even quicker than they have to find some more opportunities.
Sember pokes it forward for Allmark. Fosse, I haven't called her name much, leading scorer on the young season for the Tar Heels, 4 goals for number 13.
And that's the only thing that's let North Carolina down is if they're patient, those little gaps will open up, as we just saw for Fosse, but her first touch takes her back into pressure instead of can that first touch be diagonal in behind. She has the pace to be able to break down and beat defenses. And much like we talked about in the first half for Duke, it's almost that same way for North Carolina now. For Duke, it was about being and taking more risks. If it's one big ball over the top, do you force the issue? Well, they did. In the last minute, they got the goal. And here it is, Sember picking off that pass. Now they have numbers.
North Carolina looking for the equalizer in this match, have numbers in the attack, but not a shot. Duke D standing tall. Blue Devils ready to make another change in the second half. We'll get our first chance tonight to see freshman Mary Long make her way onto the field. Freshman from Mission Hills, Kansas, was recently called into the USU 17 camp. She'll replace Farrah Walters up top. And then on the other side for North Carolina, Dominguez back into the match, replacing Migley. Damon Nejas definitely shuffling the deck a little bit with how he's utilizing those players in the back ever since Elgin has gone out of the match. There's the band livening things up a little bit with about 17 minutes to go in this one. Adding a little extra pizzazz, as Lori likes to say. See number 10, Mary Long, really the only player high for Duke. A little bit of Sanicheva, number 11, will creep up there every now and then. North Carolina trying to create an opportunity for offense. Sember gets it through for Penny. And that was scuffed a little bit. Otherwise, might have been a lot more dangerous. Good turn. Oh, what a shot, but it goes right at the keeper, giving you a glimpse of what Linda Olmark can bring to this Tar Heel team.
Yeah, it is perfect because they work their way through from one side to the next, find little seams, little combination, and then Olmark in the position you want her. Just falls to her in between the lines. What a strike that is. And it's decisive in terms of what she's looking to do. Obviously can strike from distance, but that's the energy that North Carolina needs. We're finding some of these combinations now, looking to provide a little bit more dynamism once they are on the ball, but continuously, can they put Duke under more pressure, ask more questions, force them into precarious positions defensively? Right now it's been a bit too easy, and then they'll wait for these moments so they can counterattack.
Laguerre leading ball for long, and Gagne comes all the way out to clear it for North Carolina.
And that's been a little bit of the adjustment for this Duke team, is they're not the ones chasing this game. They have the 1-0 lead. They have the formation at times to be able to drop into a 5-back to give them even more coverage. It's just about staying tuned in, as we are going to see a few substitutions, and then they're just going to look to be providing the pressure and the coverage and then go quickly in transition. There's no need for them to keep long bouts of possession themselves. Just manage the game defensively, then take their moments and when they can.
Devin Lynch, the substitution you mentioned, back into the match. Number 6 there for Duke, defending, got it away, long touch outside. Oliaro back central. 2 players here. Lynch is one of them. Has Haas with her. She'll take it with her right. Gonna take that shot. And you better put it on target.
Well, and that ball has to go to Haas. You have to reward her for that run. She's getting into that advanced position from the wing-back position. No one's marking. Even if you take a touch that cuts you inside, then that next ball can go back out to Haas. You've got the runners. You have to reward them.
Ball out of play, and we talked a little bit about this player here, Mary Long, for the Duke Blue Devils, and talk about having a lot of soccer in the family. Well, her parents are Chris and Angie Long, and if you're fans of the NWSL, you no doubt know those names. If you don't, well, you should, because they are owners of the Kansas City Current, which has been taking the league by storm this year. And Long taken down here just outside the area. There is no whistle. Well, that's the atmosphere, though. Kansas City, they had the first stadium owned and purpose-built for a women's professional team. That is the first stadium in the world that can make that claim. So Chris and Angie Long doing amazing things on the pro level, and also loving to get here and watch their daughter in her freshman year at Duke. Errant ball goes out of play. Will give North Carolina possession. Be careful what you give. As you said, Duke doesn't necessarily have to be incredibly dynamic now. They can take their moments when they come, but giveaways the last thing on Robbie Church's list. Penny gets it wide to Dominguez. Olmark. Leading ball this time for Nagai. Crowd wanting a handball called, none given. Olmark on it again. 3 defenders around her. Long take a touch, but goes down. Graham taking on all of the Tar Heels, it felt like in that moment. Doing pretty well.
And they're doing such a good job of picking their moments when they're going to try to go quickly. Yeah, another important interception. A turnover for Duke.
Can the Blue Devils find a little insurance in this 1-0 match? It goes out for a corner. Duke will take their 4th of the second half, 5th of the match.
But it's all started with the press from this Duke team, picking their moments, at times just sitting back and conceding possession, just inviting the pressure from North Carolina. That opens up the space in behind, and then they go. And they go with numbers, they go with intensity. Along coming in that you just mentioned with her parents, Kansas City Current owners. She's pressing, leading the line, disrupting play as much as possible. Graham's running off of her, really working together as a unit.
The pause here before the corner. Trinity Armstrong for North Carolina, the freshman who has done some sterling defending in this match. This was crouched down to the ground. Freshman out of Frisco, Texas, but came from IMG Academy in Florida. Now here comes the corner for the Blue Devils. Chico plays it back, but it will be a North Carolina goal kick.
Yeah, maybe you just got between two minds. Wasn't sure if she was going to really go through that, strike it, the volley, or just try to place it back. Well, it's went out over the line, but what you can do, she had a good night defensively. Those front-footed defenders being aggressive with her approach and really stalled the attack throughout the night for North Carolina.
Well, Duke was able to snatch victory away from North Carolina in the last meeting between these two teams in the final minute of regulation right here on this field a year ago. North Carolina perhaps looking to do the same. Wound up 1-1 draw, the final in that last meeting. Ball over the top, has a chance. Haas, though, and the flag will stop the Tar Heels in their tracks.
I like that idea. We've seen that a few different times, whether it's Gaetino or it's Armstrong playing that diagonal ball in. Fossey is the one that's peeled out to this right-hand side. A bit more of the pace to be able to try to get in behind, but the positioning of Haas has been excellent. And that's why you say, if you're going to put in that defensive work, when you make that run previously, you have to reward her because she's put in so much work on this left-hand side for Duke.
Oh, marked closely there by Katie Groff. Does North Carolina start to feel the pressure a little more here? Damon Nejas talking to us at halftime about keeping his team's emotions in check. Good touch from Graham. Long makes a chase. Now as the moments tick away, Tar Heels still trailing, unbeaten on the season so far at 6-0. Duke trying to knock off the Tar Heels on their home field here in Durham for the first time in program history.
And this is where you feel like the experience right now is shining through for this Duke team. At home, defensively, Groff stepping in at the right moment, and then now slowing things down. They know they don't have to go.
Until they do.
Yeah, and then it's a little bit of a forced issue, but they still have players back in good position. So even if North Carolina goes quickly, they've consistently had players in the right positions defensively to stall any sort of attack. And the front runners, the substitutes have come on, putting in the exact energy that you need from them to at least continue to put that back line of North Carolina under pressure. So that doesn't make them easy. It doesn't make it easy for them to be able to build and get themselves into this game.
A little appetizer, if you will, for ACC play, as this one will not count in the conference record for either team. Just mark your calendar right now. Skip your trick-or-treating, tune in and watch, or come in person October 31st. Chapel Hill is when they'll meet again.
Maggie.
And this one's still to be decided, a few minutes to go. to make that determination. Duke in the lead. Dominguez.
Force back. Get back.
Ball into just to the edge of the area.
And still plenty of time in this game, but regardless of how it finishes, such an important lesson for both of these teams, because for Duke, only playing 3 games coming in, have a bye to first round of the ACC play, so they knew they could extend their preseason a bit longer than the cancellation this past weekend due to weather. So they've only played 3 games. That was a concern coming into this game. Were they played in enough? And certainly have looked sharp for various points of this game.
Robbie Church had told us, I think we could be pretty good.
Yeah,
I think we can.
One of the most deepest teams, the deepest team, or one of the most, how do you even say that?
One of the deepest.
One of the deepest teams that he's had since being at Duke. And you're seeing that. So an important lesson for them to build some confidence early on in the season. How far can they take this team and Robbie Church's last season? But then North Carolina, a young team, missing some important pieces. U20 World Cup, Olivia Thomas to injury. Elgin had to go off to injury as well. So they're continuously building, trying to refine their identity under Damon Nahas, the interim head coach. But already 6-0 on the season, second in the country. So a great start for them, but even if this result stands, important lesson for them to how they can continuously get better. Can they learn from what potentially could be a loss early on in the season?
The guy. Flag comes up for offside. Carolina pushing up into the attack. You can see they've struggled to find their offense tonight. Just 4 shots, averaging 23 per game on the season.
Good work from Long just to hold up that play. And even if they can't build with numbers, they just keep possession. And all of this time forces North Carolina to have to chase. Robbie Church not happy.
Well, you'd think that's where they would blow it dead, right? I mean, if it hits the referee and really disrupts play, it's up to their discretion.
Yeah, and I actually appreciate that he just allows it to play, because it did end up still going to Duke. Yes, they didn't able to advance, and so he's still angry. But they were able to keep possession, and all of these moments, again, forced North Carolina to have to chase. Allows the clock to tick in favor of the Blue Devils.
Under 4 minutes to go. North Carolina with the ball, but down a goal. Their unbeaten record, their #2 ranking on the line in Durham tonight. The shot, and again, the hardest shots from North Carolina tonight have gone right at Leah Freeman.
And the difficult thing, and I think this is where North Carolina will try to look to see if they can improve. I like that opportunity for Bella Simber. There's a few little step overs to buy herself a bit more time and create something off of that shot, but they haven't had much in the way of looking to stretch their team in terms of depth. So there hasn't really been much in the way of that back 3 for Duke to have to be chasing down balls that are played in behind and force them to face their own goal. Really hasn't been much in the way of penetration. It's all been back to goal, trying to build. That's been in favor of Duke defensively, because they've had numbers in good positions.
And North Carolina, no corner kicks tonight. And the last time the Tar Heels did not have a corner kick was back in 2022. It speaks to your point of just not really having that vertical threat getting to the end line in any way.
But I think you have to give loads of credit to Duke, because the sample size so far this season has been so small. I don't think anybody, even including Robbie Church and his coaching staff, knew exactly how good this team is, but they've got a lot of experience, good athletes, really good soccer players. And since they've changed this formation, it's put their players in some really good positions to be successful and even more dynamic. But defensively, they've been excellent tonight.
Duke switching from a 4 into a 3 back as the season has gone on. You saw that graphic. North Carolina has come through late in matches already this season. And a minute and a half to go. Shot on the ground in the gloves of Freeman. And she's not happy. She doesn't want to have to be called into action here. Talking to her defense. Duke looking to make a little history. First win at home against North Carolina in Robbie Church's final season. How sweet would that be for Robbie Church before he heads off to the beach whenever this season is over? He hopes it'll be a good long while. He said he is all in until that point, whenever the end does come. There's always something special when it is these two shades of blue facing off against one another, when you have the opportunity to make history like that.
Well, when you talk about just playing for a little bit of something else, and you feel that with the Duke Blue Devils, Robbie Church's last season, a bit more emotion in this game, and really, really quality squad that he has at his hands this season.
Fair Walters back on for these final 32 seconds for Duke, and perhaps one last opportunity for North Carolina to make a foray into the attack. Duke plays this right. This could finish it out. But they do give it back. Crowd starting to anticipate that final whistle. The countdown is on in Durham.